Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Friday Show presented by Woodbine. This Sunday at Woodbine, you've got the Grade 1 EP Taylor Stakes and the Grade 2 Nearctic Stakes run over that beautiful turf course at Woodbine in Toronto, Canada. Be sure to tune in for those races. I'm Ray Paulick, joined today by our news editor, Chelsea Hackbarth, and Kim Weir from the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. Now, I don't know a lot about what's going on coming up on October 21st, next Thursday, I think it is. But there's a horse show. And
there
Kim,
is indeed.
It involves horses and people. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, thank you, Ray, and thank you, Chelsea. It's such a pleasure to be here and to talk about our horses, my favorite thing to do. We are indeed hosting a horse show. It is a horse show, absolutely, positively, in air quotes, unlike any other, because it is a horse show that is happening at the Lowell Correctional Institution in Ocala, Florida. So that's right. It's a horse show in a prison. And it is starring our horses, all 50 of them that live on the 100 acres at Lowell in Ocala. And more importantly, quite truly, it is starring the women who are there loving these horses, caring for these horses, and allowing themselves to be changed and transformed by these horses. This horse show, which is a live stream using very similar technology to what we're doing today, means that anyone on the entire planet Earth with a connected device can join us. They can come into the prison in Ocala, Florida, meet the horses, meet the women, and hear what's happening. So that is what we're doing. It's October 21st, 1 week from today, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It will be streaming on all the channels. It'll be on the TRF YouTube, TRF Facebook. I think it even hits Twitter, and anyone can watch it. No RSVP, no tickets, no money being asked for. Just open your hearts and see what our horses are doing.
So I know that TRF is actually I believe the oldest thoroughbred retirement organization out there, founded in 1982, and the prison program at Wallkill in New York was the sort of the first of these programs, and it gives, what I like about it is it gives a second career for horses, and it gives a second chance for people who are incarcerated to learn a skill, to rehabilitate themselves while in a correctional institute, and it's really a perfect match. And Chelsea, you actually got to witness the Second Chances program last week in Lexington, Kentucky. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? And I'd like to get Kim's feedback on what you have to say on that.
Well, Kim invited me down to Rood and Riddle last week to meet Joshua Eisen, a graduate of the Second Chances program at Blackburn, which is 2 miles away from Rood and Riddle, give or take. He graduated from the 8-month program and was hired for a job at Rood and Riddle on the maintenance and facilities team. And just listening to him talk about how grateful he is to have had the opportunities to go and be a part of the Blackburn program, not just to work with the horses, but to work with the people that he had a chance to meet. For example, his new boss at Rood and Riddle, Erin Mathis, who adores him and even picked him up herself on the day he got out of the halfway house and took him to buy clothes and took him to buy shoes. And he grew up in southeastern Kentucky in coal mining country, and that's not the type of boss and or job that he's ever been able to have before. So just seeing him get, the littlest bit emotional over the nerves of being on camera, but that was pretty cool.
Well, Chelsea, I was so glad you were open to the invitation to come meet Josh, and your interview with him was beautifully done, because he was very, very nervous. He also has about the brightest smile in it could be. He's so proud of what he's accomplished, but he was fearful of doing it with all the cameras, and you made him feel very comfortable. So a true credit to you for being game to do it, but then to do it with such grace. I was delighted that you captured his story. Thank you.
So how many programs are there now around the country that have horses working with prisoners?
There are actually 8 TRF Second Chances programs operating as we speak nationwide, and they cross the nation. They are in states from California, New York to Florida, and of course, very much there in Kentucky. Our newest program that was launched just early this year is our first ever juvenile justice program, which is very, very exciting because that is working with young men ages 12 to 18 who have not yet actually incurred a felony record. So that's pretty powerful. That is actually also in Ocala, right next door to the women's program we'll be celebrating next week. So we're very excited about the continuing growth of the program. Actually have our sights on a couple new announcements as early as next year. So it is working, Ray, as you said so beautifully. It really works for the horses. They are happy as could be with all those people taking care of them. But the magic is watching these individuals like Joshua sort of see a new possibility for their lives. And it's just awesome. And it's so awesome to have captured it. Cannot thank you all enough for taking the time to tell his story. Those are the really special ones, and they're not easy to capture.
No, I can't imagine you have a whole lot of graduates who are willing to talk about what happened, not only to them in prison, but what put them in prison in the first place. And Josh was very open with me. So that was really special.
Yeah, it's an honor for us to have them share their stories. I have to say that that the women at Lowell were very unhesitant. So as reticent as Joshua was, and as great as he was, because his words, he's sort of like my husband. He doesn't say a lot, but everybody hears every word, unlike me. The women are a little bit more like me, and they are going to share with you all next week. Just they open their hearts and they lay it all out there. It is like a bring your tissues and prepare to be moved. But it's still a huge gift for that each individual chooses to share, because this is their lives and this is their story. And the fact that they let us share them is just incredibly inspiring. They are inspiring in every way.
Can you take us through like a typical day of the program for both the horses and the people who are working with them?
Yes, I'd love to. And for, all of us horse people, the horses' lives look a lot like horses' lives in farms across America. In that the first thing you must do when you own horses is get up early and check on them and see what they've gotten up to over the night. And they're thoroughbreds. They're probably have found some way to break something or to hurt themselves. So like at Blackburn, where Joshua was, they are up early and they get out of the dorms to the farm, around between 6 and 7 o'clock. And it's usually in that before 8 o'clock, all of our programs start. And it is a job. It is a vocational training program, but it's also a job in the program in the prison. So they're there for usually about 8 hours. They will usually have a lunch break around 12. But the first thing is to check the horses. The next thing is to feed the ones that need any supplementary grain. The next thing is to bring in the ones that have something that we're tending to, some injury or an abscess this time of year. And then, of course, the regular routines of a farm, or whether the farrier's coming that day. At places like Blackburn and Ocala, the inmates actually do all the hoof work. They do all the trimming of the hooves. So and they have herds of 50 to 60 horses in those two programs. So it's just the horses' lives are very common. The men and women would describe their day as, and they say it to the letter. They all say it's the best part of being in prison is when they get to go to the farm. They go to the barn. The horses are looking for them. The horses are so happy to see them, and that connection, is what really changes everything for them in prison. And they all speak about it. Joshua spoke about it. The women speak about it. While they're there, they literally can feel like they're not in prison for a while, because the horses are no different than they would be anywhere else. Ours just happen to be very old. That is our specialty. But anyway, yeah, to your question, Ray, it really is kind of a normal farm day. We make sure that the program replicates reality. Should these guys and gals go out and work at a farm, they're gonna know all the same things. It is weather impervious. It doesn't matter how cold it is. It doesn't matter how rainy it is. They're out there every single day, and feeding and care are the two priorities. So it is, I'd add one more piece to that is, depending on the program, there is always an element of the actual book learning, because these programs are vocational, but they have skills-based knowledge. So the guys are learning anatomy, they're learning wound care, and that all happens in a classroom setting. So in that 8-hour day, once everybody's kind of okay, they can go into the barn, into their classroom and do some learning and practicum.
Oh, that's
I
terrific.
think Josh mentioned that wasn't his favorite part.
Yes, he did. The classroom part was not his favorite part. Oh.
What is the hardest part of sort of your role within the TRF? I mean, I can't imagine that working with the government in terms of setting up these programs and then continuing to run them is simple by any stretch.
Well, I have to say, personally, there's not a single thing I find that I don't just love about what I do. I'm very, very lucky. I think each of you feel the same way. We all feel lucky that we found our calling. I'd say the biggest challenges, though, are the things we can't control, right? Isn't that true of all of our jobs? And so, in the case of our programs, and the hardest things are the things you can't do to help, whether it be the horses, because we take care of old horses who, we have to make sure they're healthy and happy every day of their life. We have to make some very hard decisions to make sure that they are happy and healthy. So this is just part of sanctuary. Those things are very hard. And then the hard piece, coming to Josh's experience, is the hope and the hopes we have that each of them who leave our programs land in a place like a Rudin Riddle with an Erin Mathis. And that's a human being that walks the earth like a unicorn, because she did all those things for Joshua, and she is with him every day, helping him navigate his new life as a post-incarcerated individual. And it's just amazing. So I'm very, the things that are hard are also the things I'm most grateful for. So when I find an Erin Mathis, when I find a Kim Jedlicki who's at Spy Coast, and I have a handful of these individuals who've caught the individuals when they get out, they're there for them and they support them. But I think the hard part is knowing that the journey is that individuals, and we can't, our horses can unfailingly do their job. That's one thing I do love, is the horses never fail. The horses never drop the ball. They are always there teaching. But what happens next is the part that's probably hardest, because it's the least, it's least predictable, and it's where we have the greatest hopes, but we have the least ability to help. So cannot celebrate someone like Erin enough. Rudin Riddle, it's the whole team at Rudin Riddle, from CEO Dr. Spike Pierce all the way through her organization. They've really embraced Josh and his story, and hope to have more of him coming out over the months ahead.
Isn't one of the challenges for getting people placed in the outside world the fact that they do have a record? And in the racing industry, of course, this is racing, so it's different from one state to another. But in the racing industry, that can be a deal breaker as far as getting a license.
A license, yeah, you're right. The track, as much as we all love the racetrack, what brings us together, it is frankly not the best place for someone coming out of prison to land. It's certainly in the short term. They're just, in the spirit of how challenging that is. Farms are wonderful, just because they're more similar to what the farms are like in the programs. And then something like Rudin Riddle is also really wonderful. We have to say that in Kentucky in particular, I cannot lose this opportunity to do a big shout out for what we call the third leg of the stool, which is the missing piece. I hate to say missing, but it's been missing for nearly 40 years, is having a partner that's that third part. We've got the horses, we've got the correctional partner. We needed a third arm to reach out to the employer community and bring the employers in to meet these guys and gals, to give them those opportunities for interviews, to give those opportunities to see them in action, and then to teach the employers how to take care of them when they get out. We have that in Kentucky. So huge shout out to everyone in Kentucky. Be proud of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce and the KEEP program, which is led by Lori Mays. And she is really what has happened and helped Joshua end up at Rudin Riddle. It is because of that group bringing the employers in. So anyone watching who's not in Kentucky, we need you. We need you in Florida. We need you in New York. We need you in Maryland. We need you in California. And we need a group that represents employers that's open to coming in and connecting those dots. So I have a great example that I can share with anybody, but we do need that, because it's not the horse people's job to find jobs, and it's not the correctional institution's role to find jobs. As hard as that may be to hear, it is the reality. That's a hard piece. I'm glad you asked, Chelsea. Nothing about it ever seems hard. I seem to have a lot of fun no matter what I'm doing in this work, but I want it to be successful for everyone. And so anything we can do to find new partners who can help that happen are so welcome.
What else do you guys need?
Well, horses eat money for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we have 500 of them, and we love them dearly. But yes, indeed, the number one thing we do to keep this program running is to make sure that our horses have all that they need to be healthy and happy. So know that there's no gift too small to buy a bale of hay, to buy a bag of grain. We've kicked off our hay drive just in the last couple of days. So that is our single largest expense item for the whole year. So anyone who's interested in supporting the hay drive, I would encourage. But the one last thing, because you asked that question and you knew it was going to be money, is that our favorite thing, I guess there's lots of ways to be my favorite, but one is to become a sanctuary guardian, which means you just choose an amount and you make it a monthly contribution, and it happens forever. And we thank you every month, because horse bills are monthly. So those donors who actually jump in and join us in our expenses is really great. But there's no gifts too small, and there are so many generous donors. And Ray, I know you know this organization for so long. We stand on the shoulder of giants of the industry who have been giving and supporting us for so long. But the 500 horses in our herd still need every dollar, and they need every meal, and their hooves just never stop growing. So that's my answer. Thank you, Chelsea.
Well, as I said earlier, it's the oldest aftercare organization there is, and it's gotten to be very crowded. There are a lot of them, which is good news for the horses, but it makes it tougher for each of these organizations to fundraise. And thankfully, the TAA, the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, is raising money that as an umbrella organization. And I like the fact that TRF is really, they do have 500 horses total, but they found a niche and they've stuck with it as far as the Second Chances program, which I think is just terrific.
Well, for me, Ray, I think it's really important because there are so many off the track racehorses that, well, not so many, but there are some that are not able to have a second career under saddle, right, being ridden. They have some sort of issue or injury, or maybe mentally they just don't want another
right
job. And this gives them a way to have a job that's not physically taxing, but that they're still really, really good at.
Very well put, Miss Chelsea. Indeed, sanctuary is the lane where we know we're doing our best work, and we're so grateful for every one of our cousins and brethren in this work that take care of those horses that are going on to their next career. We also take a lot of them when their second or third careers are over. We just understand the last chapter. That is what we do best, and I'm very honored to be a part of that. But it does take all of us together doing it because we love them so, and they can't do this part for themselves.
So how can someone reach out to you and say, hey, we want to participate in getting people placed in jobs? What's the best way to reach you, Kim?
Yeah, I would say very much, if you're knowing that this format, we receive inquiries in all formats. So as simple as whether it be a tweet, but I would say you can go ahead and email me. I mean, I'm never afraid to share my email. It's kim@trfinc.org. I am not going to be the person who probably has all the answers, but I have an amazing colleague who does the, we all work together in making sure that we get the job done. But reach out to me, and we're not that many of us. We'll point ourselves around to the right resource, kim@trfinc.org. And don't hesitate. Please do reach out for anything.
And that's the website address too, trfinc.org. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right.
Okay. Well, Kim, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for your work in this area. We really appreciate it. And glad you joined us this week on the Friday show.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Chelsea. It's been a pleasure. Be well.
All right. And we'll be right back to take a look at this week's Woodbine Star of the Week.
Come for the home stretch in the Cup and Saucer, mentoring on the inside of Fast Feet. In third placing, Weir's Neil from Chamateur. Down the centre, Stronger Together. Out wide of Chairman Bob, and trying to run home is God of Love. Fast Feet's in front. Fast Feet got away from mentoring. Stronger Together finishing pretty gamely, and down the outside, God of Love. God of Love is finishing the best, and God of Love has come with a monster finish. God of Love races past Fast Feet in the Cup and Saucer, and Rafael Hernandez and God of Love will come away and win it well. God of Love by a length to Fast Feet and Stronger Together, and back in fourth, dancing into...
Well, God of Love went into the Cup and Saucer maiden. Did not threaten first time out, but that was sprinting, and you could tell in that race, this Son of Cupid really loved the stretch out on the turf course. One going away for Mark Casse and Eclipse Thoroughbreds and Gary Barber. Now, Eclipse Thoroughbreds sent out a tweet after the race that this was on the 10th anniversary of their first runner, and it happened to be the 99th stakes winner that they've been partners in. So congratulations to Eclipse, to Gary Barber, and to Cupid, who's a young sire who got a nice 2-year-old colt on his hands here.
Well, some more numbers for you here, Ray. It's also Mark Casse's 3rd Cup and Saucer win in a row and his 6th overall, second only to Jim Day, who won the race 10 times.
Well, this is a race for Ontario breds. We'll see if this horse can, I think he's a half brother to a 2-year-old stakes winner, Muskoka Wonder. We'll see if this horse can continue to show this kind of performance going forward against open company, possibly, or a horse to look at next year as the classics come at us in Canada for the Canadian breds.
P.S. Rafi, we see you with your Frankie Dettori dismount. We see you.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Friday Show, brought to you by Woodbine. Don't forget about Sunday's big races, the E.P. Taylor and the Nearctic Stakes on the turf course there. Special thanks to Kim Weir for coming on the Friday Show to talk about the Second Chances program and the horse show on October 21st that the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation is doing. Chelsea, thank you for joining us. And hey, we're coming up to the Breeders' Cup. The next few weeks are going to be really exciting. I know you're looking forward to it.
Can't wait for tacos on the beach in Del Mar.
All right, well, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week on the Friday Show.